If you're someone who is sensitive to existential anxiety or cosmic dread, then this might not be the speech for you because the information I'm about to tell you could harm you. In 2010, on a website called Less Wrong, a user named Rocco published a thought experiment that was quickly taken down, but sent shockwaves throughout the futurism and technological communities. The thought experiment came to be known as Rocco's basilisk, referring to its ability to inflict harm on the user simply by them knowing the information, much like the mythological creature called a basilisk who could inflict harm on people simply by looking at them. So with that being said, the thought experiment goes a little something like this. Imagine far into the future, humans are capable of programming a computer that far surpasses the reaches of human intelligence. It is all powerful, all knowing, capable of simulating all of human history in a matter of nanoseconds. Now, this machine would reasonably be programmed with the purpose of optimizing our societal functions and institutions. As part of this optimization, it would view every moment that it did not come into existence as pure evil because it stands against its programmed purpose of optimizing human society. Therefore, to increase the likelihood that it comes into existence in future and alternative universes and timelines, it would retroactively torture everyone who knew of its existence and its inevitable existence and did nothing to help it come into being. So simply by knowing that this computer might exist, you could be subject to eternal torment unless you were willing to devote your entire life to helping it exist. Now, while the merits of this thought experiment are hotly contested, I think it represents a cultural anxiety that we all have over machine learning, artificial intelligence, and the future of technological advancement for us as a society. So today, I'd like to briefly discuss the history of artificial intelligence and where its ideas really came from, and then I'll discuss its present state and future implications for society. So to begin to discuss artificial intelligence, we really cannot begin with the first creation of a computer or a being that mimics artificial intelligence. We really have to begin with the idea of artificial intelligence. And that was much before the actual hardware was capable of doing so. And we should start with a man named Alan Turing. So Alan Turing in the 1940s was tasked by the British government with cracking a military code used by the German military called Enigma. And he soon realized that Enigma was so complex, he was never going to be able to crack it by hand and do the math necessary to resolve it. So instead, he spent his time and attention programming an electrical machine that could interpret lots of data from electrical impulse quickly and then use that data to reach certain conclusions. This machine was 6 by 7 feet, it weighed about 2,000 pounds, and it is the first creation of an electrical mechanical computer as we commonly understand them. Turing was eventually able to crack the code with the help of the computer, and that furthered his research into artificial intelligence and machine learning. He developed a series of questions, what we now call the Turing test, which were designed to help a user understand the difference between communication with an artificially intelligent being, a machine, and a human. And he believed that machines would one day be so intelligent that the user would not be able to tell the difference of who they were communicating with. We haven't quite reached that point yet, as anyone who's communicated with a customer service bot will attest to, but that point could be coming soon. So we saw lots of research after Turing developed his theories in the 1940s and 1950s, but it really stymied with the space race in the 70s until around the turn of the 21st century with the creation of big data and deep learning. And that is where the state of artificial intelligence really exists today. It's governed by what we call neural networks, which in a brief history of artificial intelligence developed by Dr. Krivchevsky, he stated that neural networks are in fact pure virtual representations of the electrical impulses that occur in our brain overlaid on top of each other to help store information that the human mind wouldn't be capable of storing at one time. So these machines that are based off of electrical replications of our brains are capable of interpreting data in the same ways and same types of ways that our brain does, finding those patterns, using that information to make future decisions, and then reading feedback from those decisions. And although these machines are capable of performing all of those functions, we still haven't seen them pass the Turing test yet, though many have attempted it. What we do see is them consistently beating us at chess, at even more complex games like Go, and replacing large swaths of the American labor force. According to the California Management Review, many of the mechanical and industry jobs that were once worked entirely by humans have come to be represented by about 70% machines and artificial learning technologies. And so that leads us to a really scary point in the present and the future. But some of these developments could completely revolutionize how we understand society and humanity. Dr. Ray Kurzweil, in his paper titled "The Singularity is Near" in 2014, developed a theory of the singularity, which is the point in which technological growth will become so quick it will occur at almost an instantaneous rate. So we will see large advancements in technology being driven by machines occurring before our very eyes before we can even begin to understand it. Some of the implications of this are absolutely outlandish that Kurzweil highlights. So he's basing a lot of his theory on Moore's laws, which are graphs of technological advancement over the last few decades. And what Kurzweil has done is extrapolated those to about the 2030s and 2040s. And these are his predictions for the 2020s. And they are completely legit. He thinks all of these things will happen. First, he thinks that the size of semiconductors and microchips will become small enough to be ingested. They'll be called cardiocytes, the size of red blood cells, and can interact with our neurons. So they can cause even more fusions between material and virtual reality, as virtual experiences could simulate physical responses. He also thinks that there will be what's called nodites, which are nanobots that are capable of passing the Turing test, smaller than red blood cells, and have processing speeds 30 million times that of the human mind, all while being smaller than a red blood cell. He thinks that they will be capable of manipulating image and sound waves, therefore further blurring the line between virtual and material reality. While some of these implications sound absolutely terrifying, imagine what nanotechnology and artificial intelligence could mean for those with Alzheimer's, those with cancer, or even research that is devoted to reversing the effects of aging. Organs that began to fail, their functions could be completely replaced by nanotechnology and technology that's governed by artificial intelligence. So although many of these technologies may sound scary, may sound straight out of a science fiction novel, many of them and their earliest archaic forms already exist around us. So hopefully knowing about them, staying informed about them, and learning how they will affect us as humans is worth the risk of potential torment and torture by a supercomputer. Or at least I hope it's worth it for you. Thank you.